I know you do a lot of photography in the US. You covered Del Mar recently. Tell me a little bit about that and how you feel it compares to racing here in Asia.
It's wonderful. I mean, I love Del Mar. That's like my home away from home, and I've never missed a summer in my entire life since I was a
Really?
I've spent every summer my family would vacation there, and I would go with my grandparents, and I would tell my parents, "Oh, I'm going to help Grandma and Papa move in." You're 7 years old. You're not really moving much in, but just to get some extra time at the races. As far as like the comparison between U.S. racing and here, I mean, obviously the handle and the turnover and the fandom here is just, there's really no comparison. And I think for the overall health and racing to get back in the United States to potentially like it could be here, we're going to have to adopt some changes and potentially a handicap system. And I think that's one of the brilliant things about here is at every level the racing is so competitive, and it makes it fun to photograph a Class 5 race, a Class 4. You never know who you're going to see.
Absolutely.
And who's going to go up through the ranks. And once I've learned the system and the horses and the jockeys and how things go here, it's such an incredible product. And I try to get all my buddies back home to start moving their gambling money over here because it is really fun to.
Well, I mean, with Whirlpool you can.
I know, it's
there
great.
You go. Hashtag Whirlpool. But Japan, have you ever? I mean, do you want to take your photography skills to other places like Japan, Australia? Is that something that you're passionate about doing, or?
It is, and this year, at the beginning of the year, I turned 40 this year, and that was the goal, was to really like push the envelope and see where I could actually take this thing, because I'd always just treated it as a hobby, and I'm really lucky and fortunate to get to do what I love doing, but I'd never been like overly serious about it. I just love being at the track and being with the horses, and so this year I got to go to Dubai with California Spangle and the club, and that was incredible because it was full circle with, he'd beaten Golden 60 in 2022 in the mile, and I was heartbroken over it. And I'm like, this horse owes me one. I'm like, he owes me one. So when we got here, and he just for me completely turned around, and that was just, with the Hong Kong beauty, that was incredible. And then got to go to Japan with Romantic Warrior, and he won. So my first two like real experiences of going internationally beyond here were two places, and both winning. And I loved Japanese racing since I was a little kid because of Sunday Silence going, and then I played video games my whole life. In middle school, I got Winning Post for the first time and learned all about the racing calendar there and the horses and the breeding and the history. And so I've been a fan of it for a really long time. And so actually to get to go there and be with a horse like Romantic Warrior and the Jockey Club with all their support, it was just a dream come true. And
that's fantastic.
The fans were just incredible. Like
the Japanese fans are just, and the stands are just. It's an incredible experience.
But it was, the best part about it with Japan was, it was the fans from Hong Kong that started like kind of the pandemonium of the Japanese fans. So I'd come out and I will high five all the guys over here, like the victory lane after these big races and everything. And so I've built some friends, and they traveled with the horses, and they got their Golden 60 shirts on and Hong Kong flags, and they're just rooting for, Romantic Warrior. And then the Japanese fans like, oh, that's Alex. And so every time I came out, more people wanted to take pictures and meet. And I put a tweet out just thanking all the Japanese fans for the support, because it was overwhelming, and it got picked up in a million impressions just on a thank you tweet, and it just goes to show like the level of fans in Asia. It's it's different than anywhere else in the world.
Oh, that's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about your wife, and I know you have not little fur babies,
giant fur
babies. So tell me a little bit about that, how you guys met, how you got into
like I said, I played hockey growing up my whole life, and a guy that I played with when I was like 5 or 6 years old, we're playing in the LA Kings used to have like a private skate that a couple buddies worked for the Kings, and like, come out and skate at 6 in the morning before you go to work. And I met this guy, and he's started a team, and he's like, why don't you come play with me? And these guys, we need a guy to fill in. And I was like, okay, easy enough. And so I go to that and meet a guy on the team that didn't love that much, and he was having a housewarming party, and me and my buddy were like, let's just go drink his drinks and pregame and then go out. And his roommate ended up being my wife. So I didn't even get to talk to her that first night, and I had a work engagement with that aerospace company, and I had 21 days on third shift, so like working from 10 o'clock till 7 a.m. and I got sick and I got mono, and I was down for like a while, and we got to hang out in April right before Kentucky Derby. And I used to, because I had no time off of work, I used to drive home. I'd drive from Churchill Downs to Indiana because the flights would be a little bit easier, and I would fly home 6 a.m., not sleep between Kentucky Derby and the Sunday morning, and then come home and go to work on Monday. And I was so exhausted, and I couldn't stay awake, and I called everybody, and I ended up calling a buddy, and they were hanging out, and she picked up the phone and talked to me for 2 hours on the way home. And I would bring back a rose and from the Derby blanket and the votive up there, and I brought home a rose and she stole it, and she's been getting one ever since. And
Oh,
ironically enough, the horse that won the Derby that year was I'll Have Another, and his dad was Flower Alley, and she's got a flower, and it's every year since on the Derby, and I bring it home, and it's got to make it through the airports, and they get beat up and they look atrocious, but they get home every year.
You still show up with one.
Yep.
So. And she's never traveled with you on work when it comes
Not really
to...
on work. She'd come here in 2019 after the Derby, between going to Chongqing, and we got to spend 5 days in Hong Kong, and she got to experience it and go to Happy Valley on a random Wednesday night, and it was incredible.
Nice.
And to see her like experience racing here in Hong Kong and be like, wait, they're not giving anything away. It's not a grade one. It's just a Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday night
having fun. Was blown away by it. It was so much fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Some of the photos that you've taken of him have been incredible.
Oh,
I mean, I've been looking at photography, horse racing photography most of my life, and yeah, you've really captured the essence of that horse.
Oh, that means a lot to me.
Now, speaking of that, how did you get into the stables and get to be a part of that experience and have photographs taken back there? Did you have to build on relationships with Francis and Alex and Vincent?
Yeah.
What does that take for someone who's, say, coming into Hong Kong and they want to do what you do, and somebody younger, and just give us some advice as to how they could move forward in this?
It's all relationship. It is all relationship building, and everything in life really is that. And I just would like send Vincent pictures after the race and like, congratulations, and you start messaging, and you just kind of become buddies beyond the horses. We talk about just different stuff, and then one day, I think it was after I'd seen like videos of him going to visit the horse and everything like that, and it was such a unique experience and a different thing. And I just imagine if I was a jockey, that's how I would have approached being around the horses. And I love the animals so much, and I'd never seen an interaction with a jockey and a horse like that. And so I just kind of wanted to photograph it, but didn't want to be like obtrusive or anything like that. So I just asked him, I was like, hey, if you go back after this race, I'd love to go back with you and just photograph it if that's fine with you. And I'd become buddies with Francis's son, Vincent's, and people around the barn as well. And so yeah, we'll go back. So after he won the Stewards Cup, when he beat Romantic Warrior in California Spangle, we went back and photographed this whole thing. And the vibes are incredible when he wins, and just the personality difference from that first time or the second time when we went back in December to going back in April when he didn't win. And you could see the demeanor of the horse change, and he was just so upset that he wasn't able to perform at his best. And it's a really hard thing to articulate to people that aren't around these animals, like how much they want to win. And it was one of the things that I really loved about the horse is he was just so competitive. Like he wanted it so badly. It was almost like he hated to lose more than he loved to win. And
absolutely.
That's kind of how I am too. Like I'm so competitive, and if I've never done anything competitive with my wife. Like if she plays golf and she's really talented, I won't play golf with her. Like I just the worst comes out of me when I'm not doing well.
And that's the same with your same with your work. Like you want to.
Yeah, I want to treat everyone well and be super fair and nice, and I want to be known as a better guy than a photographer. But I'm really, really competitive, and I want to make the best picture every time. But I want to make it when everyone else is having their best day too. Like I want to excel when
you don't want to do it at the cost of somebody else's.
And like the horses will run by the cameras. It's just a matter of getting lucky and getting the right stride and getting the right moment. And I study the races like crazy. Like I study them like I would be out there.
Like the form and everything.
The form, replays. I'll watch, like Golden 60 is a perfect example. Like he would lay in when he would go past horses on the outside. Yeah. So if he got an early lead in the straight at like the 200, like in the mile last year, he'd drift down to the fence and he would lay in on horses to bully him. So you start picking up these little subtle intricacies of the horses and what they do. And if this happens, then they might do this. And you can kind of plan for that type of thing. And that was one of the great things about him. I felt like I was so in tune with him, and there's been a couple horses like that, like Beholder in the United States. Like I really kind of knew what she was going to do out there, and so you almost have a leg up where you set the cameras up in a certain
way because you know what they're going to do at a certain time.
Yeah.
And do you ever have a punt? Do you ever have a gamble? Like is that something you do?
Okay. I've stopped betting when I work because it's one or the other. I got to either focus on the racing and focus on what I'm doing, or I'll have a bet there. But no, back in the United States, I've been playing every Saturday night shots because it starts at about 9:30 p.m.
And you get it live there? You get it live?
Yeah, I get it live. And my wife and I will go out to dinner, and I'll put it on the TV when we get home. And if we're hanging out in the kitchen, we'll listen to the races. And I got a bet here, this, that, the other. No, I love playing here because it's such a challenging puzzle with the weights and the handicap and jockey changes and surface and rail position that it really is this enigmatic puzzle. And I think if you're a punter, this is one of the best places to bet racing.
Absolutely, absolutely.